Money and finances is one of the most avoided conversations on this earth. And a very big question I ask myself literally every single week is how transparent should I be about my money? How transparent should I be about my finances? It is a question I have seen on the internet. It is a question that I think about when I'm with my friends, with my family. We come up and we read things about money and abuse and family, and everybody's like, you know what, I'm just going to keep it to myself. But really, how transparent should you be about your money? This question began to really resonate in my mind when I watched the podcast episode of the Working Hard Pod with Mia McGrath, and she honestly talks about her finances very, very openly and very, very comfortably. I don't aspire to be her per se, but I do quite enjoy the refreshing honesty of someone not hiding every single monetary move that they make. Her life mission is to teach people to be financially literate, which is a very wonderful thing. One of the reasons why she is so transparent with her money. But how transparent should you really be about your money? Is there a limit? Is there a code? Is there a number to it? So welcome to today's talk where we discuss how transparent we should actually be with our money. As always, we would love it if you give us a like or a follow on whatever platform you're listening to or watching us from. It helps new episode drop in your feed every Tuesday morning without you searching the world for it. And you can argue with them or resonate with them. When I thought of how transparent I should be with my finances or with my money, I thought about it from four perspectives because perspectives are really the way to reason everything. So I looked at it as being transparent with myself, with my friends, with my family, and then with strangers, basically the world. These four people or these four categories of people all have different ways of interpreting what I tell them about various things in my life. So they are the four major people I should consider when I want to make a very big decision of how transparent I should be with about my money. Now, when it comes to myself, I made up my mind to never lie to myself about my money or my finances because, to be very honest, the data does not lie at all. You have to sit down and tell yourself the truth because no matter how much you avoid it, no matter how much you can lie to someone else about how much money you're making or how much you're spending, you cannot lie to yourself. You are your own self. I don't that is the best way I could explain this. You're yourself. So you cannot lie to yourself about how much money you're making or how much money you're spending because you're literally looking at the sheets. You're the one with the card. You're the one with the bank app. You're the one with the account. You're the one getting the notifications, the SMSs, the emails. You are yourself. So you cannot lie to yourself about your finances. If you're lying to yourself about how much money you're making or how much money you're spending, there's honestly no need to do so because you're seeing this every single day. It may be a trick mirror to make your brain save for something or to make your brain live a certain lifestyle, which in turn may or may not work. It honestly depends on you. But I would say never lie to yourself about your finances. Be fully transparent with yourself on how much you're making, how much you're spending, how much you're everything with your money, with your finances. It is the best decision you can ever make as you grow up. So when it comes to yourself, be very, very honest. Be very, very truthful about everything you do with your money. It's as simple as that. When it comes to family, that's a tricky one because we love family. We all love our families. We want to be the very best person for them. We want them to be secure, to be protected, to be provided for. But at the same time, we all have heard horror stories. And I mean horror stories. I have heard horror stories of people being used as the cash cow in their family, people's families, using them just for their money or using them for a particular sum of money. I have heard horror stories about families and finances. So when it comes to families, I will say that you should tell them as much as you are comfortable telling them. Doesn't mean that you have to tell them every single thing just because you're telling yourself every single thing. It just simply means if you are making, for example, 100,000 a year and you give 10,000 to your family every single month, for example, because in Nigeria we do have the giving culture of giving family members a certain amount of money. It's not just Nigerians, to black people. We have the black tax. It is real, it exists, it is very big. But we do give our family members a certain amount of our salary every single month so they can take care of themselves and whatnot. The problem with this is it begins to lead to a sense of entitlement to that certain percentage of your salary that you give to them. When you give somebody money over and over and over again, the one time you don't give, your matter will be tabled, like we say over here in Nigeria. They will table your matter, which means that they will talk about how you have changed, how you are no longer a good child or a good son or a good daughter of the family. That's probably because you're living your best life out there. You have forgotten the people at home. That's they will say a lot of things about you, but they forget that every other month you were sending them a certain percentage of your hard-earned money, money that you worked for, money that you had sleepless nights and stressful days over. With family, I will say as comfortable as you feel about it. If you want to send your family, like the example I use, 10,000 every single month, but you do not want them to know how much you earn, that is fine. I will honestly say that is fine. Just send the 10,000 and say, this is how much of my salary I can give to you. It's as simple as that. I want you to have a sense of entitlement towards your money because it is honestly yours. If you want to help, help. If you cannot help, you cannot help. My father always used to say that you should do what you can to your ability and you should plan around your own money. You shouldn't plan around someone else's money, which means that if you don't have the money to do something that you want to do, then you do not want to do that thing. Because for you to make a plan that requires money, it means you, as the individual making the plan, should have the money to carry out that plan. Also, when it comes to family, I will also say that when you're expecting a certain amount of money, be it that it is or it is not from your salary, you don't necessarily have to tell every single person in your family that you're expecting a certain amount of money. It isn't bad to keep some things to yourself until you've gotten them. And even after you have gotten them, it isn't a bad thing. Because actually, where I am from, the Nigerian society really does teach you a sense of independence, both mentally and otherwise, social wise. Because when you tell a family member, for example, I've seen it here in a lot of cases, a lot of horror stories, a lot of real life examples. When you tell a family member that, oh, I am expecting 20,000 from so and so, that one family member will go and tell like five family members that you are expecting 20,000. And I want you to note that when you tell this family member that you're expecting 20,000, you also tell them the money is for this purpose. So I'm very happy. So it's a very innocent conversation that you have. It's like telling your brother, oh, this friend of mine is going to give me 20,000 and I'm so happy he's giving me because I want you to complete that project. You know, the project I'm talking about. I want you to fix my pumping machine. It has been down for about 3 months and we've been buying water from the streets. But now if you fix the pumping machine with this 20,000, we'll no longer have to be buying water from the streets. And I'm so glad about that. And thank you. Thank you for understanding. I just really wanted to tell someone about this because I wanted to share my joy and whatnot. A very innocent conversation. The problem is, in a lot of cases, this one family member is going to go and tell the whole family, maybe of like 15 to 20 people, that you're expecting money. And then these 15 to 20 people begin to plan the 20,000 that you are expecting from a friend to fix your pumping machine for their own needs and expenses. So you sit randomly and someone will call you and say, how are you? Please, I need 10,000. I'm sick. Or, please, I need 10,000. I want to buy a new roof or a new generator or something. And because where I come from in Nigeria, we do have a sense of, just the word guilt towards family, a sense of responsibility that, oh, I must take care of my family. My family cannot suffer. You will not give the money that you have planned to fix your confirmation to your family. And it is not a bad thing necessarily, but it could have been avoided. It honestly could have been avoided. You could have waited until the money came, you had fixed the pumping machine, and then you call and say, oh, I fixed the pumping machine, we have finally get water in the house. And the actor say, oh, a friend of mine gave me money a couple of weeks ago and I just used to pay the plumber to fix the pumping machine and it's working now so we could get water in the house. You have used your money for what you planned it for. The problem with telling family about your finances or how much money you are truly getting every single month or every single week is that the probability of you using that money to do what you actually plan to use it for is decreasing by 15% every single day. That is the reality of the Nigerian society. I do not know how it is in other societies, so I'm using that as a very good example. So I will say, tell your family how much money you're comfortable telling them, or tell them about your finances. Be transparent with them about your finances as comfortable as you are, but also be cautious of how much you are telling them, because it's easy to become the cash cow or the sole breadwinner of a family of people who are also working. And you will begin to wonder, if I'm paying for all these things, what are you using your salary to do? To your friends and partners, so when I say partners, I mean your boyfriends, fiancés, husbands, wives, girlfriends, fiancés, I would say talk about your money with them. So when it comes to your friends, you can tell them about your money. You mustn't necessarily give figures, depending on how comfortable you are with them. My friends and I talk about money, we give figures. They don't know how much I make a month. I don't know how much they make a month. But when we make life changing decisions, for example, when we want to buy a share and we want to talk about it with the group, we say, okay, I have this amount of money and I want to buy a share. What should I buy? So we talk about figures to a good degree. But salary wise, we don't know what each other makes. We do not want to know what each other makes. That's how comfortable we are. We don't want to know, we don't know, and that's good enough for us. Well, we do know who to call when we need a shoulder to stand on. We call each other, and we are happy about that. When you are getting married, I want you to be as transparent as possible, as you are comfortable to be, because money is one of the leading causes of divorce everywhere. So it's one of the leading causes of domestic abuse everywhere. Be as transparent as possible before you get married, before you get to the altar and say, I do. Have the money conversation. As much as it is saddening, as much as it is eye opening, as much as you may realize so many things you do not want to realize or you do not want to know because ignorance is truly bliss, have the finance conversation. It is a life changer, it is a game changer, it is the best thing you can do before you get married. But when it comes to partners, fiancés, your husbands, mention figures. Always mention figures. If you know your fiance or your fiancé has debts and you do not know the exact amount of money of that debt, you may be killing yourself slowly. So there was this episode of Blue Therapy that I watched this year on Netflix, and she knew her partner had debts, and she thought the debt was 5,000 or below, and she was comfortable knowing that, and that was the belief for 2 years. And then on the show, he tells her that his debt is more than 5,000; it's towards 12 to 15,000, and she is shattered because when it was 5,000, she believed, okay, in this number of years, maybe 3 to 5 years, it could be paid off. And we could use the money that was in to service the debt to do other things and build a life together. But now it's 12 to 15, which means more years to cover the money. And he lost his job. So as he has lost his job, the debt isn't being serviced. So many things fall apart in relationships because of money. So when you get to a relationship, I would say be as transparent as you can. Talk figures. Always talk figures. If you do not trust your partner to talk about money with them, I don't think you love them enough to marry them. That's my take on it. So if you trust your partner enough to marry them, it means you must trust them enough to talk about money with them. That's my God honest take on it. I can't marry somebody that I can't talk about money with. What are we honestly talking about then? Children covers money. Cars cover money. Education covers money. Feeding covers money. Housing, we pay rent, that is money. So everything we do, insurance, that is money. Everything we are bringing together as one from our separate lives all consists of money. So if we can't talk about money, we cannot get married. And that's my take on it. So when it comes to your partners, your fiancés, your husbands, I don't want to use the word boyfriend because you could always break up. I mean, you could also break up your fiance, but like the likelihood is not so there. But and then you could always divorce your husband, but you know, we pray for long lasting marriages. And also, if you're getting into a marriage, the prenup is your biggest financial asset. Marriage is a contract because you do sign a paper, so protect yourself. Prenups are not the devil, they are you simply protecting your assets. And I would advise that you do a full round research about it before, you sign that marriage contract. Now, to the world is a very big one. And for some people, for one half of the world, it is as simple as saying, I am alive. And to the other half of the world, it is basically someone holding a knife to their throat. Some people are very comfortable about speaking about their finances on the internet, everywhere. They honestly do not mind. Some people think it is a death wish to talk about their finances to a random stranger. So there are these two different categories of people. And I personally believe that these categories of people are based off the environments they grew up in. In a country like Nigeria, we do not talk about our finances to strangers. We do not talk about it on the internet. The people who talk about their finances on the internet in Nigeria are people who honestly have security around them, like private security or the police or the military guarding them. And even to a degree, nobody talks about their money. Not even the richest man in Nigeria talks about his money as comfortably as people that are not Nigerians, people of the West. When we come to the West, when we go to UK and the US, I've seen a lot of creators online who come and say, this is how much I make in a month. I can never give that type of content because I am personally afraid that somebody will find me in my home and kidnap me. These are two very different societies, and this is the reality of the world. So one half of the world can honestly open their mouth and talk about their finances to every single part of the world because of how comfortable, how safe I would say their country is. Their social system works well to protect them. The legal system protects them. In the Nigerian society, I don't. Nobody needs to tell you that you should keep your mouth to yourself because something as simple as 10,000 can get you kidnapped or can get you beaten up or can get you robbed. It is as simple as that. So when it comes to strangers, to the world, honestly, as comfortable as you are. As comfortable as you are is the major lesson here. As comfortable as you are. If you don't want to talk about it to anybody, then don't talk about it to anybody. If you are comfortable talking about it to everybody, talk about it to everybody. It honestly doesn't matter either way. As comfortable as you are is the goal here. I am not comfortable talking about my finances or how much money I make in figures to anybody, so I do not do that. I talk about how to navigate them. I talk about the reasons why you should have multiple sources of income, but I do not give figures because I am not comfortable about that. People give figures. Mia McGrath that I follow on Instagram and YouTube, she talks figures. So I learn lessons from her and I love her transparency. But it works for her. It doesn't work for me. And that's just the reality of life. So as comfortable as you are is the goal for strangers in the world. How transparent you should be about your money is one of the most personal decisions you will ever make in your life. It is also one of the most important decisions you will ever make in your life. And it depends on a number of social factors. A whole lot of things influence our reasoning, the societies we grew up in. It's there in researches. You can go read about psychological researches about how societies that we grew up in affect our upbringing, affects our mentality. There are a number of them. They exist. Okay, there's even this study of a picture that shows squares or circles, and it depends on where you grew up. So if you grew up in a very infrastructured part of the world, you'll see squares. If you grew up in a place that didn't have a lot of buildings, you see circles. I saw squares. That's just the reality of upbringing. So it's a very important decision you should make because you will have to talk about it at some point in your life. And it is a very personal decision because you have to determine within yourself how transparent you want to be when you talk about money and finances. Go think about how transparent you want to be with your money, with your finances. It's a personal decision. Make up your mind about it this week. So write it down in a journal. Write down, this is what I want to do about my finances. When it comes to myself, I'm going to be honest. When it comes to my family, I'm going to do this. When it comes to my friends, I'm going to do this. When it comes to my relationships, my partners, I'm going to do this. And when it comes to strangers, random people in the world, I'm going to do this. So write it down in your journal. Think about it. Think about what you want to say to them. You could always revise it. I think a lot of us, when we write something, we feel it cannot be changed. You can just strike a line through. It happens. And rewrite. So open your journal today. Write it down. What you want to do, how you want to talk about your finances with everybody in your life. And I'll see you next week on the Tiny Chair Talk. Bye bye.